There is a world of difference between saying that Mueller found no evidence of collusion or conspiracy and what Mueller actually found, assuming the quote in the Barr letter is correct, that the evidence did not establish that members of the campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government. Conspiracy requires an agreement for an unlawful purpose and at least one overt act to achieve that purpose. I attended a panel yesterday of some experts in this field held at the Hammer Museum, which was fascinating. And a former FBI agent explained that the Russians do not operate by agreement. The search for an agreement between the Trump administration and the Russian government was probably a fool's search to begin with. That does not mean there isn't evidence that the Trump administration took steps to cooperate with, to collude with, to take advantage of, or to participate in one way or another with the Russian interference. And my greatest hope is that whatever the redacted version, first, whatever the redacted version of the Mueller report coming in a few days will show, is a catalog of the evidence that Mueller and his team considered and weighed in deciding the first issue of Russian interference and collusion. And that then allows Congress and the American people to think for themselves whether there was wrongdoing by the Trump administration which did not rise to the level of a federal crime to be proven to a jury beyond a reasonable doubt. The second section of the Barr letter, which I was watching CNN commentators in real time fumble this until they actually read the letter. This was the obstruction of justice section. And this is very important for both, for everything we're talking about. According to William Barr, after making a thorough factual investigation into the question of obstruction of justice, which is an investigation only focused on President Trump and others, the special counsel considered whether to evaluate the conduct under department standards governing prosecution and declination decisions, but ultimately determined not to make a traditional prosecutorial judgment. The special counsel, therefore, did not draw a conclusion one way or the other as to whether the examined conduct obstructed justice. Instead, for each of the relevant actions investigated, meaning multiple actions, the report sets out the evidence on both sides of the question and leaves unresolved what the special counsel views as, quote, difficult issues of law and fact concerning whether the president's actions and intent could be viewed as obstruction. The special counsel states that, quote, assuming this is an accurate quote by William Barr of the Mueller report, quote, while this report does not conclude that the president committed a crime, it also does not exonerate him. I believe this section of the color-coded report will be extremely important. I believe we will see a kind of 41%, 51% analysis of what Mueller found as far as obstruction of justice was concerned. It will be that section which I think will then inform the national conversation over the next several months, if not years. Of course, we know that the Attorney General took it upon himself to take that question and decide it. There are various questions whether he had 2 weeks advance notice of the Mueller conclusions or only 48 hours. But in whatever time he had, he was able to do what 19 lawyers and 50 investigators took 2 years to do. He concluded that there was not sufficient basis that the president committed an obstruction of justice offense. And having taken it to himself, no charge to date is being filed against the president for those charges. This, it seems to me, is the culmination of William Barr's application for the job of Attorney General, because he wrote a 18 to 19 page op-ed and filed a report with the White House questioning why Mueller could have the audacity to investigate obstruction of justice. That was his job application, in my view, for the position which he finally assumed and in which he had the power for that purpose to declare that no criminal procedures would be taken against the president for obstruction of justice. My point is that that is one silo of what we are talking about today in terms of the legal jeopardy that the President of the United States is facing. There was tremendous celebration at the White House over the Barr letter. According to the president and his defenders, it proved that this had been a witch hunt from the start, and that all of their attacks on the Mueller investigation were justified. What that overlooked initially was that there have been 34 individuals indicted, many convicted, many pleading guilty. 5 were Trump associates, 6 were Trump associates, 5 have been sentenced. The productivity of the Mueller report is on the record to date in terms of what it has achieved in criminal prosecutions. But the entire scope of what we expect of a president is not simply that he's not a crook, evoking Richard Nixon. We have an independent branch of government in Congress, and we have a federal system of courts across the country. The Southern District of New York is alive and well and is already investigating separate criminal actions that may implicate the President of the United States. And there may be other charges and indictments coming out of the Southern District of New York, which are not precluded by anything that Mueller has done to date. In particular, Michael Cohen pled guilty in a statement of evidence and facts which said that he acted in coordination with and at the direction of President Trump.